Let's move on to the next just absolutely heartbreaking topic. Are you excited? You're excited. All right, here we go. She-Hulk director wanted to make a sex-positive show that kids could also watch because it's the end times and we need to just bring on the comet, I say.
Who's the creator? Is that Anthony Rapp's mom?
The creator?
Probably Anthony Rapp's mom.
Jeez.
So basically this is from the director. Her name's Kat. I don't know if it's pronounced Quoro,
I think.
She tells Polygon that Tatiana Maslany's take on Jennifer Walters, the hustling lawyer under She-Hulk's gamma-irradiated skin, Jennifer Walters was decidedly not larger than life, at least not in human form. And without a ticking clock evil villain premise pushing her in every direction, Marvel got to explore superherodom in a totally unique way. Well, maybe you should have had the evil villain, and then this wouldn't have to be an article.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Because they have this set up like it's a sitcom about just a random person.
Yes.
Like her superherodom is like barely even addressed other than how she looks. And she looks terrifying.
But this was the problem with the Hulk in the first place. When the first one came out and then the 2008, what's his name?
Ang Lee. The Edward Norton.
It's... I forget who said it, but it wasn't until 2012 they finally got, oh yeah, he's just a big green dumb guy that smashes things.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't want to see like some
smart Hulk.
Don't you want to see a girl boss version of Hulk that smashes patriarchal expectations?
Let's read. Let's read more. So it says, the thing I've always loved about the show were the smaller moments and being able to see a superhero coming home and kicking her shoes off at the end of a long day at work. She says she cites Ant-Man as one of her favorite Marvel movies simply because it has the little kind of peaks at normal life. This is what I'm talking about. They want to make slice of life stories that don't fit within the context of the type of storytelling you're doing. If you want to make slice of life stories, get your ass over to some other company that's making stuff on a way smaller budget and stop wasting everyone's time and money. And while Quoro was thrilled to stage Daredevil hallway fight scenes and the momentary season finale brawl between Hulk King, Abomination, and She-Hulk, which she reveals thanks to a loopy schedule was the first scene that she actually shot for She-Hulk, she was excited to take the series in an uncharted place for the MCU, specifically the bedroom. God help us all.
Here's what she said about that. We always felt like there was a fear around sex and around the idea of sex positivity. So it was our job to keep having the conversation. We wanted to say, look, she's a woman in her 30s navigating modern life. Sex is a part of that story, and ask how far we could go. I know it's something that's very important to her, this idea about Tatiana Maslany, this idea of sex positivity and smashing the rules when it comes to women and the way that they're perceived.
Look, we are not in a society where you're smashing anything right now. What you're doing in the show is the opposite of breaking new ground. You're doing literally what's expected of every childless, unmarried woman in their 30s, which is a carousel. Nobody cares.
This is not the kind of smashing I want from a Hulk.
No, it is not. You're not breaking new ground.
She's smashing Matt Murdock. She's smashing your misogynistic expectations of women.
And then you want to go on and talk about
smashing patriarchy.
So they didn't want to just do that. They wanted to be able to do it while involving kids in the experience.
Yeah. So for some reason, it was important to Quoro to make this show palatable for all ages of audiences, while including sex scenes and sexual themes.
Do you remember when we talked about House of the Dragon, and we talked about the art of just cutting away, and that there is such a thing as like show don't tell. Sometimes you can give people the general idea. You don't have to actually show. You can just give.
The style of She-Hulk, where she's breaking the fourth wall all the time and addressing the camera and the audience and addressing the fact that she is like a character in the MCU, is the absolute definition of telling rather than showing. You're not showing anything.
No.
And this is like, I think, demeaning to the character of Daredevil because of the context from which he's coming. Like, I don't like inserting him into a sitcom and changing the tone of his portrayal of Daredevil completely in doing so. And then they pan to like their superhero
outfits,
suits.
So
Also, like in a rom-com style.
I've never read the She-Hulk comics. I'm assuming though this isn't anything like what the comics are.
I've heard that there's some of this might be accurate to the
Really?
comics. I don't know if that's necessarily true of the John Byrne run. I just know that we're getting off topic. I want to talk about the stuff that really bothers me about this, and that's the stuff about saying that they wanted to make it for kids as well.
She said, this is specifically the quote that like threw me. We wanted to make it realistic and about a woman navigating sex, but also make it something that everybody can enjoy, including children. Because there is an element of the show that's really fun for young people.
You get to
Excuse me?
You get to pick, okay? Do you want to
Is this Sex in the City
Sex in
or
the City?
Paw Patrol?
Sex in
Figure
the-
yourself out.
Sex in the City is for adults. Paw Patrol is for kids. She-Hulk can either be for adults or for kids. You don't get to have it both ways.
Obviously.
They want it both ways.
You would think that's obvious. How would she say something like this openly?
Yeah.
It's like she knows exactly who is getting like angered by these comments.
Even just listen to this phrase. She-Hulk is easily one of the horniest shows currently streaming on Disney Plus.
What a sentence, man. Jeez.
like think about the unrestricted access kids have to Disney
Yeah.
Plus just because it has that Disney
And here I was over here
familiarity of their brand name on it.
and I was the one over here saying that they should have left. They moved all of the Marvel Netflix shows to Disney Plus, and they should have just put them on Hulu rather than putting that stuff on Disney Plus, where they have to put a warning label on the start of the show because Disney Plus skews obviously for children. Though you could argue now that it's mostly wine aunts, weird Disney couples that spend all their money going to Disneyland and those weirdos. So it says, she says that her goal was to deliver a show that could play to a broader youth skewing Marvel audience. The director says She-Hulk is the first show she's ever really worked on where she was receiving voicemails from 9-year-olds begging to hear what happens next. Kevin Spacey wants a call.
9-year-olds, by the way, who were probably introduced to this series
Yes.
by their woke
Yes.
Disney adult parents.
Kevin Spacey's like, how can I learn this power? Like,
I was just thinking to myself, like, you wonder where all the perverts in Hollywood come from. It's right here.
Yes.
They're telling you who
They're
they are.
out in the open.
Yeah, they don't even hide it.
well, she's a woman, so she gets a pass.
By
Also,
the way,
she just gets to do whatever she wants. Got it.
who is trying to sexualize Tatiana Maslany?
Nobody. No,
Sorry,
no,
but whatever it is, whatever ScarJo has, she doesn't have it.
yeah, no, she doesn't. Unfortunately,
She's a
just not gonna happen.
sexless girl boss wearing a pantsuit, and she's green and 6'5".
I think back to like you said, like it does, like where do they come from? They clearly come from Hollywood. They're right here. Ever notice whenever a male teacher gets accused of something with a student, it's R word and it's abuse. But whenever a female teacher gets accused of something, it's sexual misconduct. They always soften that language. I feel like if this was a guy director, I don't know. Would a guy director be allowed to say this? I don't know if a guy director would be allowed to say this.
I mean, James Gunn got away with
that's a fair point.
all of his tweets. And just because some people have this like sentiment that James Gunn is based or whatever, he got away with that in their minds too. I still haven't forgotten about that.
Also, they make it about... I watched a really good video, you guys, yesterday from Wes from Thinking Critical, where they were talking about this, about why this show doesn't work. And it really does have to do with the fact that they're under this premise now that if it's a female show, that it has to be written and directed by women. But they're women of a very narrow life experience, which is... They described it as literally like California wine moms.
They called this a heavily female writer's room. I can imagine the directions they would go with storytelling when they all share the experience of an affluent liberal white woman living in a city.
Yeah.
And who are like prioritizing their careers. That's the She-Hulk that they wrote about.
So imagine there's a scene where a guy, like I think back to that very first scene in the show where the guy's like, maybe I should, like, where they're like, the guy's just being a jerk to her while she's talking about starting a trial. It's like, maybe I should take the lead. Like, maybe you need the guy in the writer's room to be like, maybe he wouldn't sound like such a whiny dick. Maybe he just was making a suggestion and you don't have to portray him as an absolute douche.
Yeah. But because they probably encounter like the most whiny douches being in the entertainment industry, that is what they believe men to be.
So I remember Marvel editing the violence out of Captain America and the the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and a bunch of other scenes that got edited for blood and gore. But this stuff, that's just fine. It's just fine.
I think that a possible solution to this, at least on Disney Plus, maybe other platforms, could be like to shield children from content that might be inappropriate for them or that their parents don't approve of, but they aren't aware that it's on that streaming service, is if they click on that show to start playing it, you could ask for the passcode or the ID, the PIN, the password, whatever the login is for their Disney Plus account, and if the kid doesn't know it, then they'll have to ask their parent, and then like the notice on the screen would be, you're about to watch content that is considered like 18 plus appropriate or whatever, or like 13 plus.
Yeah.
Put in your passcode to verify your age.
That's fair, but I know when I was younger, my parents had that similar kind of setup on like our cable box. I still figured out what the password was.
I understand that kids will get around stuff, but like that would at least do something.
Yeah.
So what other I'm trying to think of another genre in which this works. Like we just said earlier, Sex and the City wasn't marketing to children, were they? I don't think that,
it was marketing more to like at the youngest high school girls.
Yeah.
At the youngest.
You can't market stuff that's for 9-year-olds that also does this in modern entertainment. If they can, it should get called out. At least, why is this okay?
Just saying that this should be watchable for kids while showing a woman, quote unquote, navigating sex, whatever the hell that means. Yeah. I don't know what there is to navigate She-Hulk other than you being 6'5". But like, it's just so brazen the way they put it out there and shameless, and no one calls it out. Well, I don't see people having an open conversation about this.
And the funny thing about it is, like, they call out everything else. That Hollywood loves to call out everything else.
That's why Me Too pivoted to say that women were the victims. I'm not saying that oftentimes they weren't.
Yeah.
But instead of pointing to the big problem of like child trafficking or child victimization in that industry, they pivoted to make it a publicity opportunity for themselves.
We also have it says when the show came out, I was getting these real awful messages. I'm going over to what they were talking about in this other article here.
Yeah, IndieWire interviewed Quoro about how they were trolling the trolls with the show and how it's actually playing right into their hands whenever you troll them on Twitter.
So it says,
take that, you incel.
We need a Take That, You Incel shirt. That's
we need it on our soundboard.
I want that to be our first piece of merch, to be a Take That, You Incels. So it says, when the show first came out, I was getting these really awful, mean troll messages, recalls series director Kat Coro. In a post-finale Zoom interview with IndieWire, just terrible things. You should die. You should die, and awful words. And as the series has progressed, they have started to go away because we address the trolls. The trolls are the villains. I want to ask them if there's ever any type of actual like commentary or criticism that they would find to not be trolls.
Nope.
Do you think like there's? I remember. Okay, no. Like, okay.
There's none.
There was a
Where is it a fair response to any criticism?
Yeah. There was a thing where they had the Rings of Power showrunners answer 5 questions or 5 like critiques on the show by people, and they were very carefully curated questions that they knew they could answer.
They're like, here's this discrepancy with the lore. Can you explain how that makes sense in the Rings of Power universe?
And the show has like a 35% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Nobody's like, the funny thing about it is, speaking of Rings of Power, it's not completely off topic. Did you know that the show was higher in viewing numbers than Rings of Power, along with House of the Dragon?
Because of hate watching. Right?
I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of the Marvel fans are just like...
I think the people who are into She-Hulk, who like She-Hulk,
Yeah.
especially enough to rate it
Yeah.
online or do a review of it, they are undying supporters of it. They will never not toe the line.
I don't think this stuff goes away because it's too much free promotion. Like, if this show can get that much bad press and still outperform Rings of Power, like
Bad press almost does them a favor.
yeah.
So
we're part of the problem.
maybe.
We're part of the problem here. We apologize, guys. We're making things worse for everyone. I don't think it gets better because as long as the internet's around and there's a way to instantly push back, it just keeps happening.
You know, another thing she mentioned in this same interview is that She-Hulk also addresses violence against women. She said it had the opportunity to address harassment, stalking, mugging, and more, but with its own flavor of comedy and the authority of people who have experienced such things firsthand. If addressing violence like on that level in a sitcom is deemed acceptable content for children as well.
I love
It's not even just about the sexuality. It's just like you don't know what you're going for with this show. You don't know the tone.
Yeah, they don't know that there's a time and place for everything. And maybe the laugh lull sitcom show isn't
What are
where you
they
address
showing?
violence
She-Hulk
against women.
walking down a dark alley and about to get her purse snatched? I don't understand what this is.
They addressed catcalling and all that stuff. Have you ever seen that video of polite catcalling?
No.
It's really
You mean when women catcall men? as
No,
a
there's
joke?
one of a guy who says very, very polite cat calls to women. He
What
goes
are
to him and he
they?
goes, "You look like you unpack your suitcase as soon as you get home." Like you just give general
Just like weirdly
Yeah.
obscure
nice things
details.
to say about people. Yeah, like
Is catcalling for men just saying that you're proud of them?
there's catcalling for men. The ones like the girl goes to the guy, she's like, "You look like you can beat Zelda in one sitting."
And
That's
he's
a good
like,
one.
thanks.
And
That's
the
a good
guys
one.
and like,
But
that's
it
why,
was
like,
meant as an insult.
Yeah, like even like when they insult the men, they're still like, "Thank you," because they're just happy to get noticed at all. Like it's the meme about like women get like they open their inbox and it's just nothing but compliments, and a guy's thinking back to like when an old lady at a gas station complimented him on his hair in like 1995, and he still remembers that compliment to this very day.
I think people remember insults more than they remember compliments,
Yep.
and they stick with them longer. And the power of bad attention far outweighs positive attention. That's why the writers and the director on She-Hulk are so fixated on it in every interview, every tweet. They always have to address it.
So maybe this is our
We
fault.
got
as-
Jamila Jamil addressing it on Twitter even.
Maybe this is our fault as dudes for complimenting women. So maybe like if they weren't so filled with like giving so many compliments all the time.
Desensitized
Yeah, they're
to
so
positive attention.
desensitized to positive attention that they get it all day. That when they get the one negative thing, it really bothers them, right? So maybe if they didn't get both. If they got a couple of negative things and a couple of positive things, they would realize that there's more important things to worry about.
I don't know. I think compliments from strangers don't mean much.
No.
But compliments from somebody you know
Do.
and care about, they mean something. But then one insult from a stranger somehow outweighs all of the compliments. So even if you have a small but dedicated fan base like She-Hulk seems to have, they don't pay any attention to their fans. They only pay attention to the haters.
People say like nice things about my skating all the time, but the second somebody says one negative thing, it at least sits with you for maybe only 5 minutes longer, but it sits with you for 5 minutes longer. The
Because
nice
it's
stuff,
more of a call to action, right?
yeah,
like to
the negative
change
stuff,
something.
Yeah, the negative stuff just goes in one ear and out the other. Or I'm sorry, the positive stuff just goes in one ear and out the other because the goal is to not think about it too much and to not care too much about it because you can't let your life be dictated by the nice things people say to you any more than you need to let your life be dictated by the negative things.
Writers' rooms are full of egomaniacs,
Yeah.
basically. So they're not capable of finding that balance.
They need to find people who are a little bit stronger willed and who don't take things so personally. But as long as you're going to hire California wine moms who are just full of like
They're not even wine moms. They're wine ants.
They're wine ants, like filled with mid-30s grievances. Like or like maybe like wait till they get married to and have some kids to do this, to lend perspective.
Yeah.
To this stuff.
Like, I don't think that writer's room had many different female perspectives. They just assume it's a hive mind,
and that
which
all
is
of them
almost
think
more
the same.
insulting.
Yeah. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.